welcome to the podcast, So Casted. I am your host, Tara Lockett. Today we are going to talk about hope from a wise soul. And that is my love bug, Hope. We're going to talk about today this love bug called Hope. Mama Jane is our love bug, Hope. And as I shared in the last few episodes, we are going to cover all 7 of the love bugs, but we're going to break them down individually. We've covered value. We've covered foundation. We've covered new beginning. Now we're going to talk about hope. But before we get into that, I do want to remind you that you can catch these episodes on the website as well, www.socasted.com. And you can also catch the blog that is on that website and catch up with, check out the little notes that's provided for you in that blog. And then if you can't activate the YouTube channel, you can always go to the website and click on the podcast, and it will take you to all of the episodes up to date. But before we get into the topic of hope, I want to remind you from the great late Lao Tzu of the wisdom dots that he shared, aka quotes, and he says, "You are controlled by the one who makes you angry." You're controlled by the one who makes you angry. Now, I must admit, this is something that I work on pretty much every single day, because if you're in traffic and then you get angered by the person who cuts you off, you are now under that control. Or if you're in the house and your kids aren't cleaning things up the way you want them to clean up, but you're angry because of it, you are under that control. So just a wisdom dot from Mr. Great Late Lao Tzu. He is a 5th century ancient Chinese BC philosopher stating, you're controlled by the one who makes you angry. Now let's get into that topic of hope from a wise soul. And that's a pretty good wisdom that Mr. Lao Tzu left with us. But the hope that I want to talk about is Miss Mama Jane. Mama Jane, I met her when I was a very young girl, probably in my junior high school years. And I'm so grateful for her because I had to do an assessment of those who came into my life and those who made the biggest impact in my life as I was growing up. You got to understand that when you go through a trauma event in life, there aren't people around to tell you what you're going through mentally, what you're feeling emotionally, and your feelings, your anger, all these things that you have inside of you. There is not many people around to guide you and help you on a pathway that makes you use your brain and think. Remember, this podcast is about healing the mind, freeing the heart, and then activating change. What is that activation? Well, hope is a part of activation. Because for you to, begin a process, then you need that hope. You need someone that comes around and gives you the good wisdom that you need, which is why it's called From a Wise Soul. I found out later in life that Mama Jane was born the same year as my grandmother, and I lost my grandmother going into my high school years. And so not really realizing that she was someone that was brought in through my life path. And I gave Mama Jane the love bug hope because Mama Jane saw a young girl, and I'm pretty sure she saw the signs of what I like to call the marks of mental slavery from her own life. But there are a few things that she and I had in common. One, we were big Laker fans. And number 2, we just didn't love sports in general. She likes the Dodgers. I personally, I like sports in general. And so not just those things, but those 2 things brought us together. And it gave me the opportunity to sit around an older person, a wiser person, and to learn some things. One of the things in hope that I learned from her was the ability to care. Mama Jane saw a young girl, and I'm quite sure the signs that she saw in me were signs that she was used to because of the year that she was born in. If she was born in 1911, that wasn't that far from slavery, so that means her parents were former slaves or just ending that process. And so with her wisdom, I enjoyed sitting around her, I enjoyed talking to her, and I definitely enjoyed eating with her. And that's what she saw in me. She saw a young girl. Not only was she hungry most of the time, not only did she not smell so great most of the time, and not only was she not so wise because she had, she was operating in doubt and fear and anger and those type of things that trauma brings into our minds and into our lives. But when we sit with an older, wiser person, they are more than happy to educate you on things that you need to know to help you have a better life before you. And that's what hope is. Hope is not just, oh, I hope it happens. No, that's a good gesture. But at the end of the day, you have to also know that there are good people. When your mind says there's not one person that's great, in life, but hope comes around in different forms. And in this particular form, hope came around in a wise soul, which is why I like to call it hope from a wise soul. Now, we have to recognize when we have that wise soul in front of us. If we choose to take our life and say everything and everybody that's hurt us and traumatized us, there's not one good thing out there, then we're doing a disadvantage to the creator of our life, the giver of our breath. Every day that we have breath, we have the opportunity to heal our minds, to free our hearts. What are we healing our minds from? We're healing our minds from those traumas, from those the things that were damaging to us. And then we're freeing our hearts. What are we freeing our hearts from? We're freeing our hearts to be able to hope, to be able to love, to be able to give back to others and know that, we don't have to make it harder for our children and children after them, but we can begin that process of healing so that we can set in tone for the next generation to not go through what we've gone through. I watched the movie Precious, and I must admit, when I first saw it, I could not look at it all the way through because of the type of pains that I was experiencing was too relatable. But in that scene that I did see, I saw a mother who was hurt, who went through a lot of pain and had a lot of damage done to her. But instead of changing that and changing that trajectory, she felt the need that her daughter should go through what she went through because she went through that. That's not hope. And that's not preparing our future for a better generation. What that is that's repeating a cycle. You can go all the way back to the beginning of this season's, the introduction episode, and you can hear about the 8 known you can hear about the 8 known mental constipational facts. These are known because we see them every single day in those who refuse to hope. And those who refuse to heal the mind, and those who refuse to free our hearts, and those who refuse to activate change that's so needed in our society today. We want to push blame on our youth of today. And we want to say, you guys are different than we were in our generation. And I can speak on that because I'm from that generation. But this is what I want to say to you. As Mama Jane did to me, my love bug number 4, she gave me hope. She gave me the opportunity to know everybody in the world isn't a bad person, but you got to be smart and you got to be wise. And that's what hope is. Hope is having the ability to believe that there are good people in the world. There are people out there who want to see our young people succeed. You got to remember, I was in my young, early teen years, junior high school, when I met Mama Jane. And she was born in the year of 1911. Again, that's the same year my grandmother was born in. And what a pleasure to know, and had been given the opportunity before her passing to simply say thank you. There are so many people, and the first 7 love bugs that I mentioned are people who did make a very big impact in my life. And that's what I want to leave with you. Remember, you are controlled by the one who makes you angry. So if we're walking outside of that anger and in cheerfulness and in love, then we can open up our hearts and our minds and then activate things that are needed to change every single day. Keep hope alive is what they say, right? And so we have to keep that alive in our own life. Remember, for us to heal the mind and for us to free the heart and for us to activate something, we have to confront it. We have to challenge ourselves. And then doing that confrontation and challenge, we don't even realize it, but we're breaking those invisible chains of darkness. So I want you to stay hopeful, and I want you to remember, from a wise soul, remember who controls you makes you angry, and we don't want to be controlled by anybody. I want to thank you so much for listening to the podcast. You're on SoulCasted, and remember to like, subscribe, and leave a comment if you can. Tell me how these episodes are helping you out. But you know how I feel. More importantly, please share these episodes, because these episodes are about the things that people refuse to deal with. And I want you to know you don't have to be ashamed. You don't have to be afraid. And those insecurities that you have, we all have them. Just a little secret to let you in. And we can heal from everything that's keeping us back from evolving. And why do we need to heal? Because our minds matter and is the vision of the future.